Welcome to the TattooNOW show. My name is Gabe Ripley, and this is Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison's network of awesome tattoo shows. You know, all tattooers, apprentices. Oh, wow, I completely screwed up. There's a light. Now you can see me too. Apprentices and the curious are all encouraged to join in these live streams, to watch the replays, to inspire each other, and ultimately to create better tattoos and art together. Our special guest today is Markus Lund, who's down in Tampa. And also, I think we're going to have another special guest, thanks Anderton from the UK. He did a really awesome tattoo. So it's, this is a tattoo that's going to go viral. And I think it's also anti-religious-y, or I don't know. Anyways, it was a pretty funny meme that went around with some woman who was saying some nasty things about tattoos. So we had a little fun with it. So I'm not exactly sure where you're beaming in from. It could be from the YouTube or from the Facebooks, or you may be listening to the podcasts, but you can always find the latest event schedule and notifications at the official Reinventing the Tattoo website. I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see here. This is the Reinventing the Tattoo website. And you can see here that, well, this is our last show that we were playing, but we have, this is Reinventing 24/7, right? So at any given time, you can check out, we've got 5 different channels. This is an interview with Jesse Smith, clearly. We've got a Reinventing Drawing Group on replay, Nick Baxter Still Life replay, the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. You can click here, next page, to get to another channel. This is Stefano and Guy Aitchison doing a bilingual interview in Spanish. This is the Spanish channel, which is pretty amazing, if you don't ask me. Okay, let me get back to my script here. I apologize. And I definitely apologize to the YouTube people because we very lately edit these. This is actually reality TV. So yeah, you could find all the latest information right there on reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find the mobile app in either of the app stores, the Google or the Apple Play, the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, excuse me, and do a search for Reinventing the Tattoo. It'll be in the learning section. I think our social app is still up as we're switching over, but you want to grab the learning one because the social one's going away. We're all about the learning, and there is a community inside of there too. So check out our mobile app. We have a ton of shows that happen on a weekly basis. And again, you can always go, actually, let me go back to the website and then we could show you the upcoming schedule. It's right underneath our player here. But boom, Reinventing the Tattoo channel events. You can see that we had just finished up the Machines, Magnetism, and Mayhem. This is Markus Lund. Actually, we have a Reinventing the Tattoo business roundtable later. And then I think later tonight is the Live in the Castro. I don't know why it's not listed here, but I believe it's at 6 o'clock tonight. In any event, you can check out the schedule of everything that's going on right here on the homepage at any given time, because that's where we keep all of the latest information, reinventingthetattoo.com. We're on Instagram and on all the social medias and whatnot, but that website's going to be there forever as long as there's an internet. Let's see, upcoming special events. We just had a good one, good live event over at Red Tree Tattoo in Columbus, Ohio. It was pretty awesome. We had 2 days. Bob Tyrrell came out. Nick Baxter beamed in. Renee Little did a whole back piece outline. It was pretty awesome. You can go to reinventingthetattoo.com/live to catch any of the replays. Let's see. Next up is April 11th to the 14th. Inspiring Tours. It's the only .com I use. Inspiring Tours. These are small audiences, like 5 to 10 people, in really inspirational places with awesome teachers. The first one is with Sean Barber and Nick Baxter. It's amazing. They're going to be doing painting the first 2 days. They're going to do a collaborative tattoo the 3rd day. So if you're interested in getting a tattoo from Nick and Sean together, it's going to be pretty amazing. Contact us. We'll set that up. The actual tour itself is filled up and sold out within 50 hours. So if you want to hop on the wait list for the next one, then go to, well, Inspiring Tours. May 20th to the 22nd is the Hell City Tattoo Festival in Columbus, Ohio. Hellcity.com. We'll be there with a massive reinventing room. And we're also helping set up some of the seminars and organizing that. Hellcity.com, June 10th to the 12th is Ink Mania down in Tampa area. Actually, our guest coming up is from that area too. Anyways, Ink Mania, inkmania.com. We'll have a full reinventing booth. We'll be doing interviews. And on Sunday, Phil Holt, Stefano, and Guy will be doing seminars. Guy is going to be beaming in. Then July 29th to the 31st is the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational in Akron, Ohio with Tony Urbanek. It's going to be pretty awesome. A lot of old coil machines, and it's going to be a great show. I think you got to go to their Instagram at Rubber City Tattoo Invitational. They are actually accepting applications for tattooers, so if you're interested in working it, give it a go. There's another Hell City in August out in Phoenix, Arizona. Don't have the dates here in front of me, but it's okay. It's in August. Just go to hellcity.com and you'll find them. And then October 21st to the 23rd is the Richmond Tattoo Convention. We are going to be punting Paradise so that, well, probably so that we can go down there. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Our sponsors. I want to thank our sponsors. I'm waiting here for Markus to beam in here. Okay, so rawpigments.co, check them out. They are acrylic free, so their inks don't dry out in the cup, and there's less acrylic in them. There's no acrylic in them. You can see a lot of videos. Lauren does a whole bunch of interviews. Rawpigments.co. WorldTattooEvents.com is, I got to keep getting in touch with him. He'll post up these videos on the homepage. The largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events that exists, worldtattooevents.com. Alex is amazing. Alex also has interviews on this channel. Do a search for history of tattoo conventions or the future of tattoo conventions. DLize Pro, known as Dermalize Worldwide. Protect your art. If you're using saran wrap, just understand, to heal your tattoos or send your tattoos away, just realize saran wrap literally does not breathe. It's designed not to breathe, whereas your body needs oxygen and needs to breathe to heal properly. So yeah, check it out. DLize Pro in the United States, Dermalize Worldwide. Thank you, international copyrights. Protect your art, DLize Pro. Okay, TattooNOW, that's me. I'm a computer geek for tattooers, kind of like a part-time CTO. I've been working with tattooers and shops and supply companies for 25-ish years, since the mid-90s. And I can help amplify your technology to help you expand and fulfill your potential. I have a fair amount of products. You can go to TattooNOW.com. I think my consulting gigs are all booked up at these days, but I love to help tattooers and whatnot. Now, last but not least, for the Reinventing the Tattoo Network, it was founded by Guy Aitchison, GuyAitchison.com, GUIAITCHISON. He's the founder and inspiration behind all of the Reinventing the Tattoo for, again, over like 30 years, 25, 30 years. And the bioencyclopedia, he authored the bioencyclopedia. It took him about 8 years. He has DVDs, tattoo machines, paintings, prints. We cannot thank Guy enough. Go check it out, GuyAitchison.com. And let's see, positive reviews. Yeah, please leave those on the channels to help us get the word out. If you want to send constructive criticism or host a reinventing event or sponsor the community, management at reinventingthetattoo.com. Okay, so this is normally when I hop off into the background. Oh, well, we don't have our guy here yet. So what I'm going to do is I want to figure out technically what's going on. I always have lots of videos. So we have a massive archive of videos that we love to show off. I'm going to fire up here while I'm waiting, or while I'm going to go find Markus. And let's see, what's a good, I'm trying to find here a good video to play. I should have one. Here we go. Almost okay. I'm gonna fire up a little bit of a John Clue painting workshop. This is a video of John Clue and Guy Aitchison leading a painting exercise. And when we come back from this, we will be with our guest, Markus Lund.
Hello to everyone who has tuned in for this workshop tonight. John Clue is here, and I've always loved John's paintings. I've known him for as long as he's been painting, kinda. I mean, did graffiti and stuff, but when he started taking painting seriously, I got to see some of his very early efforts, and it's always been enjoyable to watch him refine this this look. It's kind of this psychedelic reptilian outer space kind of thing that he does, and he's been very consistent, but he's always pushed it. Every year it's gone somewhere new. And the kind of reptile eye, psychedelic signature, John. Every year it's gone somewhere new. That's what he's chosen for tonight's workshop. And he's given us a black and gray reference, but we're doing a color painting, right?
Yes, with a very simple palette that I mixed from pretty much just 4 colors: Indian Throne Blue, Halo Blue, Cadmium Yellow, and Naphthol Red. And I find that from those colors mixed with black and white, I can get a pretty wide range of different colors. And with the Indian Throne Blue, it's everything stays pretty chromatic too.
Okay. So it's basically like working with your primaries.
Yeah.
So okay. And
nice
now the reference is not in color. So are you going to encourage people to kind of find their own color scheme, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Start with, I laid out a base mid-tone on the standard board, and I'm going to pretty much work from that and use some cooler colors, some warmer colors to get some contrast and get it to pop, and that should be enough,
Okay, so yeah, we've got our very simple palette poured. I guess each of us is going to kind of run our own direction with it. The whole family is painting tonight. We've got a gnarly thunderstorm rolling in, and so my bandwidth may end up getting bad, but hopefully it'll pass through pretty quickly. And plus, you're the important one here. So if I disappear off the web for a minute, I don't think anybody will miss it too much. But yeah, we're excited to see where you take us with this.
Okay.
Now,
Hey, sorry to interrupt real quick. Guy, do you have headphones on?
I cannot use headphones. Is it that bad?
Whenever you don't have the headphones on, we could always hear it. Or John, do you have headphones?
No.
If you could, are they? Basically, the sound is always going to be pretty annoying when there's a slight echo cutout. So if we could try, if there are headphones available for anybody, you can put them on, then it would help a lot. But if not,
I do have headphones, yeah.
If you could put them on, we could see. Otherwise, Guy, we might just have to do that muting and unmuting thing.
Okay, well, the main problem is that if I put headphones on, nobody else in the room can hear the lesson. And I also run into that battery problem.
Just don't talk then.
So I'll keep my talking to a minimum.
Let's see if I can get these to work.
In some ways we have to. Our daughter demands it, but that's a good thing. It's healthy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we were in the house for like first month and a half straight, it felt like.
No batteries?
Yeah, I figure I'd show you where I'm at right now. Starting to get a little bit of color in there.
Email at the very beginning once we know who's coming, and it'd be like put in 5 or 10 words, and then as part of their like initiation, and then at the end we could have like almost like the drunk critique, only nobody has to drink or whatnot, but could have a few people having their cameras on their stuff, and we could have the same little hashtag thing and be pretty hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it would be fun if, yeah, for sure, we have people submit words ahead of time and we can kind of read some of them off. But then, of course, we've got the random aspect of it. We'll have to figure out, you know, we'll just have an actual physical hat, and Sandy, you'll probably be the person that draws the stuff out of the hat.
Totally.
And reads off our assignments, and I think it could be a blast.
I agree. So Melissa is saying, when brushing on a varnish, do you prefer matte, satin, or gloss, and why? And she's also wondering what the best way to apply it is, in thin layers or one medium to thick one.
I personally like using a gloss varnish. I feel like a matte varnish really just evens out everything, but it doesn't give it like that slick, wet look that you get with a gloss varnish, which, I mean, it's really a personal preference kind of thing, I guess. But as far as application goes, I prefer using spray varnish. And I like using a few thin layers, maybe 4 or 5 thin layers, and enough to where you can see an even sheen throughout the whole thing, and then I leave it alone.
Nice.
Yeah, I've just been using Damar Retouch varnish because it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to dry as many months. You know, they recommend this very long drying time before you put on varnish, and a lot of the time these go out the door before that. So the retouch varnish is a thinner application. It's still a nice gloss, but you can put that on, you know, within a week or whatever. One thing about, you know, the gloss versus matte question. One thing to remember is that you've got glare no matter what, right? A certain amount of glare is just endemic in the situation. You've got a light on in the room, it's going to bounce off and create glare. When you have a gloss varnish, all that glare gets very concentrated into a couple spots. So if you've got it hung just right, the glare is getting bounced out of the view. You don't see it at all. But if it's not, you can have these gigantic spots of glare, like right where you're sitting on the couch, you look at the painting and it's just glare city, right?
Well,
Matte varnish.
It's true.
What happens with matte varnish is instead you've got the glare distributed evenly over the whole surface in these tiny, tiny little microscopic dots. Because that's all it is matte varnish is gloss varnish pruned really small, right? So that glare, instead of being all concentrated into a big shiny blob, is a billion tiny shiny blobs. And so no matter what, you're seeing some glare. It hazes out the piece just a little bit, but you also aren't going to get those big shiny blobs of it either.
Okay, we're back. We're back, Markus. Welcome. You're on. We're live. Don't say anything embarrassing. I want to welcome Markus, Markus Lund from Fox and the Spider.
That is it. Fox and Spider.
And that's Spider spelled with a Y. So let's see, FOXANDSPYDER.com. And it is Markus_Lund from the Instagrams. Do I have, not sure I have the Instagram. Oh, I do. Markus Lund on the Instagram. Here we go. And so you could, okay, this is the website. I guess the website's coming soon.
Yeah, we had some issues.
Oh, good. So yeah, so Markus_Lund, who originally is hailing from Europe, Northern Europe. I don't know the appropriate.
Yeah, originally Swedish.
Swedish, voila. And then now currently in Tampa, Florida, like I said, at the Fox and Spider. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to catch up with him. Thea Duskin introduced me to his work a couple of years ago. And yeah, you'll see it's a fantastic mix of some different styles, right? So there's realism, of course. This is a beautiful, Gogue.
Yeah.
But also, the more painterly, watercolory style. It's hard to say watercolor but it's that style,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm very happy to be catching up with him finally over the video and to help show off his work to everybody. So Thanks again, Markus. This is fun. Why don't we start off at the beginning? Do you want to, I mean, at the sake of being a normal podcast interview, do you want to start off and tell us your origin story?
Origin story. Well, let's just go with the kind of like the rough draft. Started tattooing back in the 90s. Always been doing art ever since I was a little kid. And I feel like this light is like just glaring behind me. Is that all right? The light, okay?
It's all good. It's very dramatic.
But yeah, started tattooing back in the 90s. Started in Cyprus, of odd places, little island in the Eastern Mediterranean. Great location, very popular with tourists and so forth. So I got to tattoo like everything you could possibly imagine, from English football badges to tramp stamps to just about everything and anything. Long hours.
And this is Cyprus, the island off of Turkey?
Yeah.
Awesome. How'd you end up there?
The Greeks don't like to say it's off the island. It's not off. Turkey.
Oh, right. Because it's half Greek and half Turkish, correct?
Yeah. The northern part of the island was invaded back in the 70s. It's a lot of political crap.
Oh yeah, my wife did a little bit of well, I guess she did a vacation there. Maybe her father was doing some not studying, but anyway, she was there for a little bit, so I got to hear about the conflict between there. But that's a funny place. I don't know if it's that funny of a place, but how did you end up there?
Well, that's a good question. I don't even remember how I ended up in Cyprus. Thing is, my family somehow got there, and then I got down there. It's convoluted how I ended up there, but because Cyprus was a halfway point for me in the beginning, because my father was working in Cyprus, and I stayed in Cyprus for like maybe 2 months before I went to Japan. So it was sort of like a weird stop off, and then after Japan, went back to Cyprus, and then left Cyprus, came back to Cyprus. It was like 6 years off and on the island. So. But in the meantime, I picked up an apprenticeship in the old classical sense. And then from there, just, like I said, working long, hard hours and just doing everything I can. Ultimately, it led me around Europe and led me to the United States through some conventions and so forth with my mentor.
Awesome. What conventions did you end up hitting in the States that brought you over here?
We were over the New York Tattoo Convention when it first opened. The first and second annual. There's also Mad Hatters back then too. So.
Oh shit! So we're talking fucking mid-90s.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
I remember I hit the New York show quite a bit. I never got to Mad Hatters though.
What was that?
I hit the New York City show quite a bit. I mean, it's straight. Well, I guess Portland's not that far either, but I never got to Mad Hatters, unfortunately. But I did. The New York show was pretty cool. It's really sad that the whole venue's gone now.
It was still at the Rosemont Ballroom.
Yeah, Roseland, Rosemont, one of those.
Roseland, yeah, Roseland. I think it's the Roseland Ballroom.
Yeah. I remember they didn't allow you any re-entry, so every year I ended up. I'm like, I can't leave and come back, and I ended up. But the drinks were very strong, and I never ate the food there. I didn't know if they had food there. I guess they must have, but yeah, I always ended up a mess. But it's. I think it was
security was by the Hells Angels at that time too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember I had to go to the train station to let one of my coworkers. I needed to pay for my coworker's train ticket or something.
Right.
And they were like, "Yeah, no, there's no reentry." Or I knew there was no reentry, so I was like, "But I gotta go. I gotta do this." I'm like, "Can you remember my face? I swear I'll be right back." And then as I was saying, like, "Please remember my face," I'm like, "I probably shouldn't be telling the HA to remember my face, but it's all good, It's those were very fun shows, no doubt. And so, how many of those did you do?
Same thing. Was that?
So, how many of the New York shows did you do, or tell us a little bit about those early convention experiences?
Only did 2 of them, but I mean, it was like early in my career, so I mean, I was still sort of like apprentice and so forth. The first one I went to, I was actually getting tattooed. I got my whole thigh done, which was a little bit sort of odd. I had bugs sitting right across the way from me, and just
awesome,
like incredibly like influential artists like surrounding me, and it was the first year you're freaking out from me, and that you've seen in magazines and like heard about, and they're like shaking hands and hobnobbing with like your boss and so forth, and you're just like,
awesome.
Yeah, back then it's totally different than you have today. Now with social media and everything like that, it's easier to get in contact with artists and so forth, and the whole general community, I think, is quite a bit different than it was back in the 90s. I mean, I remember walking to a tattoo studio and people would look at you cross if they thought that you were an actual tattoo artist, or if you asked any questions that led to you being in the business. You felt very unwelcomed and people would kind of push you out. But now everyone's sort of more friendlier and stuff like that. But even the circuit is different because you had a handful of conventions in the entire world back in the 90s. Now every town's got a convention. I think it loses its sort of this, the uniqueness of what the tattoo convention is, just like at every other trade show. And like the Mad Hatters was, I wish people had been able to experience that convention. That was just insane.
Yeah,
crazy time.
COVID's clearly like, sorry.
Not saying it was a crazy, there were crazy parties, but just the amount of talent in one location, it was just like the legends. It's kind of the only way to say it. You would have Phil Lou sitting with Paul Booth, Horiyoshi around the corner. Guy Aitchison, of course, and the list goes on and on of these people that were just revolutionary. And they helped me get to where I am because I, looked at their work and I wanted to emulate the same quality and so forth and get better. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy. And now, when you were in New York getting tattooed, were you getting tattooed by your boss or by the shop owner? Or,
I got tattooed by my mentor. Yeah.
Awesome. I remember having a safety meeting there outside in the smoking area, and I think it was Sean Vasquez. Rest in peace, man. That guy was great. I can't believe he's gone. But we were having a conversation maybe with him and like Richie Bulldog smoking weed, and I started just being disparaging against one of the magazines because I think they probably pissed me off at some point, but he started getting a little bit red. Sean got mad. He got a little bit mad at me. I'm like, I had no idea what was going on, but I realized I was way too drunk, way too stoned, and people are getting mad at me. And I probably should shut up and go back inside. And the next day, I fucking get back home and I see the magazine, and he fucking, I think it was Tattoo Master. He's like full on the cover. And so I was like completely inadvertently slagging the magazine that the guy was on the cover on, and I felt really, and I'm inspired by like Sean. He was an inspiration, right? He had shops in America and he had shops over in Europe, and cool.
But it's nice also to see that both Europe and the United States, there's the blending again. Because for a while it was quite separate. The Europeans were doing the European stuff and Americans were doing the American stuff, and the only time we really saw each other, or at least the quality of work and everything, was in the magazines. I can remember the magazine days, and you have to put together a bundle of photographs and mail it in, like physically mail in photographs, and hopefully they'll show some of my pictures.
Yeah, for some of the young ones, let's talk a little bit about that process, right? Like right now, you take the picture on your phone and it's published immediately, right? What was when you started? And again, the magazines are, they still exist, but even in a different kind. What was that experience like? So, how long did it take from when you were doing a tattoo to be able to see it in a magazine?
Wow, kind of helped to know who to mail your stuff to. That was a big advantage. Especially,
but start at the beginning, right? Like you were on you were on photographs. You like had to like take the film and then ship it out, right?
Yeah, you would have to take out your camera. If you were in a convention or something like that, or doing a guest spot or something, you jump off one of these disposable cameras and you were taking your shots with that. If you had the money, you got yourself a nice little camera. But yeah, you would take pictures. You didn't develop the pictures, and hopefully, they came out nice and presented the tattoo in the right way. Good lighting. It's like we didn't really have digital cameras, so you really couldn't pre-screen what you're seeing. It's like what was in the viewfinder, that's what's in the viewfinder, and you better hope that you had the right everything for that shot. And of course, you wouldn't take one picture; you would take like 30 or 40 photographs. So you would have all of this stuff to flip through and be like, okay, this one's going to the portfolio. Slide that inside the portfolio, and like this deck's going to go to X magazine. With like you had Tattoo International, you had Tattoo Veer. What was it? There's quite a few of them. Then you had all the other ones like Skin Deep and stuff like that. Being European, you wanted to get into Skin Deep, Tattoo International, the German magazine Tattoo Veer, and a few other ones. But you would just send together the package and little thank you note. And if you wanted to, you were smart, you would send a little something extra to kind of bribe them into putting you into the magazine. And then if your work was good enough, you went to the local corner store and picked up your magazine, opened it up, and bam, there's a little picture of you and your work, or a picture of your work in the back part of the magazine, and just little name, where you're from, and that's it. And, then hopefully you thought that people liked it and were going to hunt you down.
Yeah, no, it's crazy the difference. It's the same thing kind of happens in the chess world, right? Like so I guess so. The analogy from what's happening in the magazines to the shift over to the internet, so if you were going to do an inspiring piece of artwork, it could take months for it to get out and for other people to see it, and then the only people that would see it were the people that would have maybe that particular magazine. And but now clearly, like, you could do a masterpiece, you post it up, and then the next day people all around the world are able to experience it. The same thing happened in chess. Like, they used to have chess magazines, and you'd have to like write out all the chess code, and so it would take a long time for people to experience what was going on in that world. And it's just happening so fast. So maybe talk a little bit about the differences, right? So we talked a little bit about how long it took. Let's talk about the good and the bad of this jacked up, wicked fast experience that we're in.
I mean, the good is obviously, you have the ability to get as many people to see your work as possible. In the old days, I remember I would just do a great tattoo, and as soon as I was done with the tattoo, grab that client, just walk down to the local bar and just be like, "Hey, this is what I just tattooed." Show everybody, and from there, people were liking and they were asking questions, and it kind of built up. Now you get a little bit more of like instant glorification, especially people with large followings and so forth. It's easier to kind of push that out. Then of course the mystery of hashtags, which I still don't understand. That's an enigma to any Gen X. How do I hashtag? Okay, I'm gonna figure this one out. I can do it. I'll figure it out one day.
Did you get yourself on the TikTok yet, or?
No.
No, yeah, okay. But you can dance a little, no?
Yeah, not very well. Maybe some skanking. Yeah. But I guess it's also getting used to like that constant photo, like keeping the camera on you all the time. I guess it's a little bit different. Because back in the day it was like, oh, just a customer left her shoe here. Basically, you would have this. It's a different idea. You tattoo, and you wouldn't really think about videotaping yourself or filming yourself doing it, and you didn't really take too many like progression photos and so forth. You were always looking for that finished like pic and so forth. And if you were lucky enough to have your client come back the next day for that next day fresh photo, and that would go sliding right into the portfolio and stuff like that. Again, it's a little different, because you would have to have. All your work had to be photographed and put into a presentation so people could flip through this book and see your work, versus some guy on the other side of the country comes across your name on Instagram and can see all of your work and everything right there. It's a different, it's just different to understand. Not that it's good or bad. It's just, again, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, the ways that we used to be able to promote, and the supply and demand was also different, right? There was like way more people that wanted to get tattooed than there were tattooers. And now there's like 1 million tattooers and millions of people that want to get tattooed. But it's interesting to see who adapts. And now the fun part for me is there's so many people that contact me, some computer geek. They're like, how do I do more of this on Instagram, or more of that on Facebook, or more of this on TikTok? And it's like, do you give, how many business cards do you give out to your clients? And I'd be like, wait, no, I want more business. And I'm like, well, I know, that's why I'm asking you. You give out, a stack of business cards to your clients? And I'm like, no one wants business cards. I'm like, okay, before you spend all this time thinking about trying to generate new business off of fucking social media, pay attention to your clients. They're the ones that already got tattooed by you. They're going to be the ones that are recommending you to their friends. So it's really sad for me to see people just get really stuck on the, the scientists are getting us addicted to the social media. So it's like, it's by design.
Yeah. I think probably the most clever way of looking at how to define the way you start out on your career and everything, especially for people who are trying to be in social media and things like that. In the tattoo sense, I can't speak about any of the businesses, or maybe I can talk about painting. But when it comes to art related, it's better to be ghetto famous first if you're world famous. So you got to get known locally because that's your mainstay of business. So, taking a stack of business cards and dropping them at a strip club or at a bar or local taverns or whatever, you congregate. It's always a great idea. Everyone that you drop like what you would consider some of your best work, give them a stack of cards and be like, hey, you hand out 5 cards. I'm going to take an hour off your next tattoo or something like that. Make sure they write their name on the back of it, something like that. You got to give little incentives, and then people will promote for you because tattooing is still word of mouth. At the end of the day, you can have 1 million followers on your social media and stuff like that. That's great, but does 1 million people walk to your door every day?
Absolutely.
You don't want 1 million people walking in my door because I never sleep.
Sure. No, and to that point, if it doesn't work with word of mouth, then the only thing you're really going to do is disappoint more people if you open up your volume. And it has to work the other way around, where like you're doing awesome work, people are digging it, they're coming back with their friends and family. Then every new person that you bring in, you're satisfying. I mean, I just know this personally. Like I had when I had my shop, there was a while where I amplified up the business before I perfected the experience. And so in some ways I just pissed off more people quicker.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways to go about it. I mean, for me, I guess I create a good relationship between me and my clients. And of course, I'm not afraid to tell my client, it's not going to be a great design for you. And, try to give them but I mean, I don't sit there and say, no, that's a terrible idea. That's just stupid. I'll be like, well, there might be a better way to describe it and give them examples and so forth. So they understand what's going on in my head instead of just like giving them like slam the door on their face and be like, oh, that's a stupid idea. I mean, I've seen plenty of fucking tattooers do that. Oops, I'm not going to swear or not. There's plenty of tattooers that I've seen in studios when I'm doing like guest spots and so forth, and quite literally chase people out the door. I'm like,
crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, if I was your boss, I'd fire you right now for chasing money out the door.
I mean, it's the money and it's the tattoo. It's like it's the person, it's the relationship that you build. It might be faith upside down right now, but it turns into the sleeve on the partner or on them someday if you're cool.
Especially if you create that relationship with the client and they keep coming back and coming back and coming back. I think I heard Tony Robbins said this once. You have to make people fanatics of you, and that's the way to retain business. It's not like they like you. Oh yeah, I got this tattoo by such and such. It's like, okay, but it's like, yeah, I started out with this tattoo, and yeah, we're working on a bodysuit now. Yeah. I mean, for me, that's the kind of client I want. Not to the fact of just like, oh, I get to fill one guy, but he has that passion to basically work with me and enjoys my work.
Yeah. They'll remember you for the rest of your life. It's unique. Tattooing is completely unique in that respect. And there's other things, that you might remember your surgeon, but you will always remember that, like the tattooer is such a.
Well, you remember
it is like a good tattooer, yeah, exactly. Well, you'll remember the bad ones, right? And then you'll also remember the bad ones, or you'll remember the bad experiences with a good tattoo even worse, right? So like we've heard stories, somebody gets an awesome fucking tattoo and you're like, that's an awesome tattoo. And the first thing they say is, yeah, he was an asshole or she sucked, or whatever it was, it's like, oh, wait, sorry about that. It's like, but to your point, like if you craft that experience to be positive and awesome, again, they're coming back with their friends. And I mean, you're old enough. Have you been tattooing any of your clients' kids yet?
Oh, I've done 3 generations.
3 generations now. You've been done grandkids. Awesome. How old are you? I guess we're the same age, maybe. You're late 40s?
45.
45. Okay, yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. The other day I was laughing on a stream. I was like, people with gray hair don't even look old to me anymore. And like 3 kids fucking or 3 25-year-olds spit their fucking coffee out and were laughing at me.
Yeah.
But, so let's talk about the Europe connection a little bit more too, because you talked about how it's kind of coming back together, and I've been texting thanks. I think we have a European coming on to join us. but yeah, let's talk about the Europe American tattoo scenes and how they have drifted apart and together. I always loved Europe. I got tattooed by Tintin in the late 90s, early 2000s. Which side? I think it's this side here. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. So let's hear about Europe. I love Europe. Make me home.
I mean, Europe. I mean, where to kind of begin? I mean, tattooing, I think, in Europe as we currently stand, is a little different than the United States. I think due to the popularity of like TV shows and so forth here in the United States, the tattooing it's shifted a little bit. I think we treat it more like cosmetic jewelry, versus Europe still looks at it as more of an art form. I think they accept tattooing as a medium, and that the artist is just using tattoos if he was using oil or acrylic, in that sort of sense, because a lot more experimentation is being pushed in modern European tattooing. Where here in the United States, people are still kind of like set back for a little while, where we had to a degree, when I was younger in the 90s and so forth, if you wanted like blasted color work, like big, bright, bold color, almost guaranteed you want to go to America. That's kind of where the place had like the huge bold colors and everything like that. But we stayed to more of a, finessing black and gray. When I say black and gray, I'm talking about just black wash gray, no opaque grays. Some people did cheat a little bit. They made a whitewash and then they just would blast over everything with a whitewash. I think that's more for saturation, for longevity reasons. Working in Cyprus, you kind of avoided using white in almost any tattoo that you did because, you spend a little bit of time in the sun and it's baked.
When I was first getting tattooed, you probably remember this, but I probably spent an extra $30 to have my tattoo whitewash, right? They're like, for an extra $20 or $50, we'll put white over the whole thing and it'll be better.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Hey, I mean, some people got with, they got caught up into that deal. I mean, it's again, there was lots of different things, but I mean, it's also, a few artists today, if they're working in a tourist area, on a beach shop or so forth, they understand what it feels like to do 15-hour days and things like that. But back in the 90s, you'd stay, till the last person left. It was constant work. And I know it's like, I don't know, I guess I'm getting kind of lost within the nostalgia of then and now. I'm kind of glad I don't work those hours.
Yeah, I love the point that you're making about like the experimentation and the art freaky. For one, Europe just has more actual history, right? So like there's buildings and the architecture. If it didn't get bombed, that's still there, and so there's a visual language that Europeans, it's the same thing kind of in China, or just like in older countries that they have, that I've always noticed. I go over there and there's, the art is just more, there's more to look at, there's more details, the fucking banisters or. Yeah,
everything's also smaller, so you can't miss it. That's the other thing. Here, sure. We have great museums. I've got a Dali museum right here in Tampa. But I didn't grow up with a Dali museum around my house. I had to move here. It's like, whenever I want to get inspired, I walk in there. But
that museum is fucking out of control, amazing. The Dali. This is the Dali Museum in Tampa.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest collections of Dali's work, I think, in the world.
Definitely like Mecca field trip. Not even field trip. Like I said, it's a destination. That's a Mecca to get to. There's also one in Barcelona. Is that the? There's two. There's one in Tampa.
Yes, just outside of Barcelona. Barcelona.
One of my favorite things to do is, when like Boris or Nico or Ivana, somebody does an awesome Dali tattoo, I always tag the Dali Museum.
Yeah.
They'll pass them around too. Let's talk about the Dali and the inspiration there. You're obviously a student of painters and of non-tattooing art. So
I formally apprenticed when I was 16 with a painter in Belgium, which this is just a study of my work, but classically trained in the sense of like focused mostly on 17th century still life, Dutch school. So with that painting background and so forth, it's it's kind of like led me to kind of see things in my own sort of unique perspective and whatnot. I think everyone needs to learn how to hunt a little bit, with their day-to-day tattooing. But oops, sorry. I'm sorry, I just got totally sidetracked there.
No, no worries. The thing that impressed me, not the most, but one of the things that impressed me about it is, and you know this from hitting regular museums, like the size. Like those fucking paintings were fucking massive. And we're so used to seeing shit on our phone that to see the real thing and to experience it, whew.
Yeah, next time you come down here, I should take you down to Sarasota. There's the Ringley Museum down there. They have 5 Rubens masterworks. We're talking about like the ones that are over 3 meters, they're like 4 meters tall, but like 3 meters wide. They're like huge. That's Peter Paul Rubens, which and another like amazing name when it comes to art. But again, just walking in and looking at Dali's work, especially the epic stuff, and like it's full scale, and seeing all the little tiny details. One of my all-time favorite ones is the painting he did of his brother. It looks like it's all like pointillist, kind of feel like it's a halftone image. But then when you get closer and you start to look at the little spheres that create the halftone image, some are quite literally painted as 3-dimensional spheres, and some have little things painted inside it. And, I've looked at this painting 1,000 times in art history books and stuff like that, and never saw any of that information until I got up onto the painting. I was like, I never knew that. But Dali's work is immense. When they have, like they had an exhibit with Duchamp, and I didn't even know that Dali and Duchamp actually did stuff together. And we're heavily, Dali was influenced by Duchamp and some of the stuff that he did. It's like, you hear about the history books and things like that, but then actually physically see the work that they worked on with each other. It's impressive. And again, it's inspiring because it shows you that you can't just, I don't believe in that sort of the idea of the one-trick pony. It's like, I do one thing and I do one thing well. It's like, okay, I can understand that's good for some people, but for me as an expressive person, focusing only on one particular style all the time doesn't satisfy me. I guess, as because I started painting at an early age, I think I developed a style in painting, which then when I got into tattooing, I was already a gallery sold painter. So I think I was allowed to kind of be more artistically expressive with tattooing, and then focused more, I guess, on painting. I don't know. It's a tough one to think about, but yeah, definitely. Going into Dali, getting the experience of, okay, so he not only did his stuff, but he worked with other people, and kind of it's inspiring. And then you see other people doing it, like, what can I add on? What can I build off of that?
Have you done much collaboration in the tattoo world?
Not so much in the tattoo world, but I've actually collaborated with a couple painters to incorporate into tattoos. So basically went through a collection of their work and stuff like that, and they sent me their idea of what they would have put together for a subject of a tattoo. And then, of course, they're 2-dimensional painters and don't really quite understand how to wrap an image around a cylinder. So then that's where you have to take that idea and reinvent it to a degree and show them what it would look like on a cylinder, and then the kinetics, like if it's a sleeve, how does a tattoo move when the arm is moving? And then from there, it's interesting because some artists have gotten, because again, they're painters, they're not used to what is the kinetic, movement of your work. Like, what does it look like when it's put on a hinge? And some artists have actually added that to their paintings now. So you can see like there's like a little bit of movement now. It's like it's quite interesting. Like they'll hinge something, but it's not hinged. But
sure. I used to joke that one of the things I used to kind of enjoy was seeing the illustrators that look at tattooing and like, oh shit, you can make money at that. Maybe I should do that. Because I could draw way better than those fucking shitty ass tattooers. And then 4 months later, they're like, I'm going to stick to painting, you know, because I mean, to do tattooing, you really need to love tattooing. Like, it's not just creating pictures on a medium. There's a person, you know, and to your point, it's like, it's tricky. It's really tricky. Like the skin. I mean, maybe you want to address a little bit about the differences of the mediums as a classically trained painter and as a tattooer. Obviously, there's things that you can do in painting that you can't do on skin unless it's big enough. I don't know. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. The Russians have been actually doing quite unique stuff with that. Their type of tattooing techniques, which, I mean, they kind of treat it more like oil painting because they're using small, small formations and so forth, and kind of like paint by numbers in a degree. We're able to kind of blend them together. But I think that I think once you start to understand things like oil and so forth, and you work in not sort of a impasto way, but like layering and layering and layering and layering these thick colors and so forth, looking for opacity every time you're working. But if you step back and you look at the transparency, some of that idea can translate over into tattooing, which you can start to see where there's similarities. It's like the same thing with watercolor. When I started to experiment with the idea of translating watercolor into tattooing, this is a long time ago. I wanted to change the concept of what you're looking at. We're used to seeing tattoo on skin. I wanted people to think that this is painted on paper, but it's on skin. So, but people are thinking that, but that looks like watercolor on paper. Which for me, I mean, that was probably the first time I kind of really realized that, oh shit, I can actually paint in skin, which is something that I've said since my apprenticeship. People ask me, why'd you get into tattooing? It's like, well, I just wanted to learn how to paint in skin. Which I guess ultimately that's kind of where we get to. Yeah, like the sunflower there is sort of like that direct style, heavy, so like oil painting kind of feel to it.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Now, are you accepting new clients, or let's talk maybe about your booking?
Well, pandemic.
Right. Yeah. How's that treating you?
That's kind of rescheduled everything. I mean, my international clients aren't flying in and so forth, but I mean, clientele-wise, I mean, I guess at this moment, I would say that I'm taking on new clients, but I guess I'm being particular about the subject matter. I want stuff that is going to kind of inspire me within, like, well, that's a fun one. Kind of inspire me into doing things that are a little bit different. Like, for example, with the inversion of color, tattooing the tattoo inverted and not looking at its original colors. And then someone takes a picture and they invert the colors of the tattoo, and all of a sudden you have, a white lotus from what was a black lotus. Mm-hmm. That's kind of fun because it's like altering the concept of what you're looking at, which floats more to that sense of being an expressive artist versus being locked into a particular style. But again, I'm glad that there's people out there who focus on particular styles and so forth, because then they can become sort of an example to those who want to venture into that style. Like, what's the proper way? Like, how do you do organic? I'm like, well, Guy Aitchison has a whole book and everything about organic tattooing. I'd direct them towards that sort of way. I mean, that's how I learned it, by looking at his tattoos and reading his books and so forth. In realism, I mean, you can go all the way back to the 70s and look at artists who were doing stuff back then. I mean, Felix Liu, Jack Rudy. I mean, infinite names to a lot of those guys and what they were doing.
Hey, I apologize for cutting you off. I realized that it is already fucking 12:57, and I actually have a reinventing business call that I have in 3 minutes for people that are part of the Reinventing the Tattoo business class. So unfortunately, we have to boogie. I was hoping that we get Thanks in here to do. Did you see that tattoo that he did? I'll share it off real quick while you're here. and I'll beam in with him hopefully. But this seeing tattoos makes me feel physically sick. Did you catch this meme at all?
Yeah.
So at first when this was going around, I'm like, this poor woman probably has nothing to do with this quote. But actually, I guess it really does. Seeing tattoos. She's Melanie Phillips. This is here. So thanks. Immediately was like sniffing out the. Well, he's a fucking fantastic humorist. He's really funny. I would love to do a comedy podcast with him, but I don't want to get canceled again. But he did a tattoo of this, right? So he like posted this up. Oh boy, here we go. So this woman is going to see this fucking tattoo, and I mean, it's such an like to have a joke tattoo that is crafted like this. I don't know. I'm laughing my ass off, and the fact that I think that she objects to tattoos for religious reasons, that really definitely makes me.
It's a fun conversation to have, actually.
Well, I can't talk religion without pissing off way too many people at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't care. Like, I mean, part of it for me is like, man, there's like, if somebody can suspend their disbelief and have faith in something without evidence, like, or contrary to evidence, like I used to I was always relatively intolerant, but the fact that we're in a culture now where it seems to be a significant amount of people like literally not believing in fucking what reality is,
right.
And for me it's like an extension of that, or maybe it's the last puff of that. Anyways, point is I have a business class that I have to get to in like 2 minutes now. We'll have to catch up again in the future. I know that you have some cool projects coming up, and we got to show off some tattoos. But let's do this again and maybe beam in with with Thea, or maybe we could have a couple other of the watercolory styles. But you also do the realism and stuff.
I mean,
anyways, give us your good closing. Your good closing out. My name's Markus. You can find me here. I'm still taking tattoos, and
okay,
we'll call it a good one.
I'm Markus Lund. Work in Tampa, Florida. I am still taking on clients. Just make sure that your ideas are conceptual and not blueprinted. And we can definitely find the best tattoo that we can do for you. Again, yeah, just be creative and stay creative. It's especially with this time, it's difficult to find inspiration, but if you can find it, just grab it and run with it, and what comes out comes out.
Awesome, great quote, great way